Welcome back to the Good Enough Garage. As you can see, we're not in my garage. We're actually in the garage of my best friend Aaron Bunch. You might remember him from episode 3 of the Good Enough Garage. But in this episode, we're actually going to be taking a trip back in time to 1989. Old archive footage that Aaron gave me of his dad building one of his first street rods, a 1936 Plymouth. The reason I'm doing this is to kind of pay homage to the people who got me into this whole car thing and this custom car thing. Without Aaron and his dad, I probably wouldn't even be into this. Wouldn't even be into cars, wouldn't even be into anything. I remember being a little kid with Aaron in the back seat of this 36 Plymouth, driving to car shows, cruising around, and just enjoying my childhood. And it was probably one of the best childhood you could ever have, because it involved all these cool hot rods and these cool cars. Unfortunately, the 36 Plymouth has long been sold, but I'm going to take you back in time with Aaron's dad, and I think little Aaron might be making an appearance in this video as well. And we're going to show you how he built that car in a part 1 of what I'm referring to as Good Enough Garage Classic. So, without further ado, let's head on back.
Plymouth. I bought it roughly a month ago. I gave $3,500 for it. I bought it from a guy that owned it. He bought it in Georgia, kept it for 2 years. He drove it to Corpus Christi, Texas, where he worked in the oil fields. He kept it for another 5. He moved up here with his father. If it wasn't for his gripey ass old dad, I wouldn't have it. But I wanted to video the car before I tear it down, so you can see actually what it looks like before I start on it. It's basically stock. It's got a flathead 6 in it. That was rebuilt, roughly 5,000 miles ago. As you can see, it's got a flathead 6 in it. The car runs very well. Let me start it. The motor runs real good. I'm going to take and put a 1980 Pinto suspension under it, rack and pinion. And I've got a 1978 Monte Carlo tilt wheel to put in the car. I'm going to take all the electrical system out of a 75 Trans Am and put in the car. I'm going to go with quartz bulbs in my lights. The inside, as you can see, is very stock. The carpet is brand new. The fellow worked with the interior, but it's not really what I want. The mileage on the car is 66,627.7 miles. All the windows work very well in it. All the glass is in the car. Back in 1936, you really didn't have air conditioning. This is what they give you from the factory, free. All the air that you could dish in underneath this windshield. In the dash here, I'm going to remove the cluster, and I'm going to put in Trans Am gauges here. And I'm going to weld a piece of metal back over this, put in the other 2 gauges in here, and I'm going to put in a Pioneer Super Tuner 3 stereo. I would sure hate to have to take a trip in this thing, because I'll tell you, it beats you to death. You've got the old type knee action shocks on it. By the time you got to where you were going at, it'd be 4 inches shorter, or you'd wind up with a bad back. The rear end of it, I'm going to go with a 7.5 Monte Carlo and a 76 Trans Am rear end, so that I can at least get a decent suspension all the way around. The back of it, when I first got it, had a spare tire mount here. I was going to go with keeping the spare tire off completely and slicking it, but I changed my mind. I'm going to go with the old spare tire mount back here and mount one of my new rims and tires back on the back. I don't know if I'm going to go with the original bumpers. The top of the car has got the old canvas insert in it. In 1936, as well as the early 30s, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler, the total big three, made a mistake, a big mistake, of putting canvas insert in the top, which is uglier than hell. I'm going to go and I'm going to take a top out of a Lincoln Continental with a sunroof in it, and I'm going to put it on the top here. So this way at least I don't have to worry about the top getting cut on me or anything like that. The bullet holes right here, I'd really like to know the story behind them. From the angle of the holes, it looked pretty much like a dead hit. Most likely the people that was riding in this bomb was probably Al Capone or Bonnie and Clyde. So far since I've had the car, I haven't seen no ghost inside, so must not have been a bad hit. The rims on the car, I'm thinking very serious about putting them all back on because I really like the Continental X4 wheel that they've come out with. It's a really dressy wheel. I'm going to go with a Daytona blue exterior, and on the interior I'm going to go with a dark blue velour. So really basically that's really about all I can tell you about the car. So, well, here we are again on it. I jerked the front end off of it. It's a whole lot different. So I pulled that old front end I had off, and I put the new rack and pinion system in out of a 80 Pinto. I've got the new firewall coming for it. I've got a 350 Chevy motor instead of the 327 I was talking about, but I'm still going to run the Turbo 400. So once I get done with it, I've got the rear end coming out of a Granada that's going to go in it. So I'll have Ford suspension, Chevy drivetrain, and a Chrysler body. Best of the big three. So I sandblasted the front end. I haven't even had a chance to grind any of my welds yet. I haven't even put my stabilizer arms right here for my bushings. But once I get done with it, it's really going to make a beautiful installation. So I've already contacted the fellow that's going to do my new door panels and the lady that's going to do the seats. So hopefully next summer I'll meet my goal and it'll be able to roll out. I've worked my ass off so far to get this in between working at work and working here, and then all the honeydew stuff the wife wants me to do. I'm going to change the 4-lug rotors, and we're going to put the 5-lug so that I can have both 5-lug front and back. When I put the rack and pinion steering in, it set in like it was made for it. I got a 113.5 from center to center on each side, and I picked up both cross holes here. Perfect. From here to the corner was 40. From that hole to the corner was perfect 40. So it set in. I had about 1/16 of an inch gap. So when I pushed these plates right here back, I picked it up just perfect. Perfect. And when I started welding it in, it went in great. I closed the corners off with the caps right here, so it really looked good when you got done with it. So once I get done grinding the welds and painting this, it'll look like the installation was made for it, and it won't look like an add-on. The next installation is the motor, the firewall, and the rear end. So for right now, that's about it. Okay, see you in a few more weeks.
I know when to do all the work in welding. I did the job right. 350. Then things are hard to do.
What do you call all this stuff here?
I don't know. Wagon pinion. Yeah.
What's this out of?
Pencil, Dad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I should have known that, you know. I migged it all the way back around for strength, plus I welded it inside. I've got it already marked for my steering column. I've even got my motor mounts in now. I've already set my motor, my trans. The next installation is to start cutting for my steering column and also my brake booster. I got by pretty cheap on the firewall. Believe it or not, it only cost me $10. And that's number 16 gauge metal. It's even thicker than the old one. As you look back through the video, you'll notice the hole in the oven here, all different type holes in it. To me, it looks terrible. The smoothie look looks so much better. Here's the top that I'd chosen. Originally in the video, I'd said something about using a top out of a Lincoln Continental, but I really ruled against it for the simple fact the top of a car, to me, should have character like the rest of the car. So I chose a top out of a 77 Chevy Malibu wagon. Putting it around the edge, we put it until we just broke right here. So I'll get a saw blade and I want to show you what I mean about breaking.
Then on Married with Children, Al Bundy is having the strangest effect on women.
You know, you look at me and just see hunk. You're not the first who tried to bag the big one.
So right here, here's what I'm talking about. Using a simple hacksaw blade. This way you can gauge and see how much fill you're going to have to do to make this thing right. It really came out fantastic. You take a blade and you hold it here and you hold it here and you get down over the side and you can see there is maybe a 3-inch spot all the way across here. Over to here, there's maybe a 5-inch spot, and the side, you can get a shot on the side right here and you can see the contour of it. It's almost perfect. Look at this. It's perfect. There's so little fill in this, you can't believe it. It's really, and even the back corners were fantastic. Look at this. Look at the way that lays. Lays beautiful. All the way around the whole top. It laid in like it was made for it. Last night there was 2 friends over. One has got a 35 Plymouth coupe. One's got a 36. The fellow that's got the 36 asked me, "What is that top out of?" He said, "It looks like it was made for the car." I told him, for all the scrap that I took off that top, it was made for this car by me. And it fits fine. But even corner to corner, even this one here, and I would consider this corner my worst one. But look at this. Perfect. You have fill from here to here. That's it. A very thin film. Nothing heavy. Look at this. Beautiful. Even the center came out fantastic. But the top really laid down nice. What I did, when this top started to come up and started to break flat, I didn't want it overlapping down into here. So I took it and I cut it back to where I could get away with the less minimum of a top that I possibly could. This is what I really liked about the station wagon top. When I went over to my friend's house, Jim, the other day, Jim Scout, he had this car out back. He was junking it out. It was an old red Chevy wagon. I seen that top and I flipped. And boy, was it cold taking that thing out. Because here it is in November, just before Turkey Day, and I'm out there taking this top out like some goon. Oh, when I seen it, I had to have it. I worked like a dog getting it off. I must have worked for 3 hours getting this thing off, and I was numb when I got done. It was so cold. But it's worth it, seeing the top go in like this. Really, I don't have to put that ugly canvas insert that I showed you before. I didn't think there's nothing no uglier in one of those things. To me, it shows no purpose whatsoever. I've asked older guys, guys that drove these cars back in the 30s, and I asked them, what purpose is the canvas insert? And they look at me and they shrug their shoulders. I stayed roughly about 2 inches over the opening of the hole. So this way you don't want to stay to where you would break, because the canvas in essence is going to lay flatter than metal. So metal, you can get the bow out of it, where canvas lays totally flat, and you don't get the bow out of that, where I caught my contour real nice with the metal. And by staying 2 inches over and not 4 inches over, I didn't overlap too far on the top edge, because then you're having to fill the sides instead of the top. The edge right in here is where you're wanting to fill. So I went, for right now, this is just tacked down real good. So I want to go back in between my tacks, and I want to put 1 inch weld, skip the tack, 1 inch weld, skip the tack, 1 inch weld, and do that all the way around it. Even the edges right here where I've cut for stress to lay down, I'll go back in and I'll make those in solid so that there is no coming loose on an edge. Well, you put a top in another car, and also I put rear quarters on a Trans Am, and we had no problem of ever coming apart. They went in beautiful. But on the other ones I brazed them together. On this one I've MIG'd them. Here's the back of it. The back of it also came out real well. I went on ahead and I taped my opening off because I didn't want to get any weld on my back glass. The glass in this car is that good that you don't want to damage it, because this glass I'm not going to change. I'm going to keep it as is. There is no pits in none of my glass, no cracks, but the edges, the corners really laid down. They laid down just as pretty and smooth to where I split them here. You can see like these spots here, to get them to lay as flat as I wanted them. These are screw holes where I put the screws down here and laid it flat to get my welding done, and then I MIG my holes back up. So these are laying, as you can notice, you can see the red paint around them. What I did, once I welded them, they stuck up a little bit. I took a hammer, body hammer, and smacked them to where I laid them below the surface, to where that I did not have to grind so much metal out of that screw hole to weaken it again. So this way I'm getting a good feel here. I'm going to take Duraglass and stay over this first, because Duraglass is waterproof to where the Bondo is not. And if you put Bondo over this first, I can guarantee you in 10 years it'll look like an old restoration. In 10 years you'll be doing it again. I've got another friend of mine. He told me, he says, you know, I can't see how you get the enthusiasm to get out every day into the garage after you come home from work and then start working again. Well, I told him, I'll tell you, if you think the thing is going to get done by itself, you got another thing coming. You got to get up off your duff and get out there and get something done. I said, because if you don't, when summertime comes around and you see those nice rods at these street rod meets and shows, swap meets, yours is going to be in the garage where it'll stay for another 2 to 3 years. So the next time you see it, this whole top will be in prime. It'll be finished and it'll be primed out, ready for its final prime and paint. So I figure that to be, today is Friday. I look for it probably by the weekend, by next weekend, it'll be ready to go again. Okay, well, we're back again. Top is all done. It's under prime. This I considered my worst corner. It almost turned out to be my best corner. By the way, all the work that I show you on this car, I do myself. I do not have anyone else do it. When I put the Duraglass in here, about from here to here, once I feathered it all down, I really almost didn't have enough room for the other fill over it. I've got so much more to show you on this thing that I've done. I almost went too far before we shot it again. But the top, I was done with it right on time. I was done the next week. Here's the back of the car right here, the tail panel that I had to finish off. I had to put a brand new piece in down here because, well, I guess time and age and cancer eat the back of it right in here. Had a spot right here, eat right across. But I had good metal underneath it and I had excellent metal over it. So I went on ahead and I welded my new metal in, and I had a few small holes over here that I fixed over. So I went on ahead and I took my Duraglass, like I always do. I coated first with Duraglass, and then I went back with some filler called Featherite. Regular Bondo, you work yourself to death. maybe it'll turn out, maybe it won't. But it did. It just turned out just as smooth as silk. Here's where my bumpers go. In about 2.5 hours, I had finished off all of this, went all the way around from the windows to the door handle down, all the way around to the back, took it right down to the original prime from 1936. Right here is the true color of the car, forest green. Well, they sure didn't have too many colors back then, and that had to be one of the ugliest ones. I'm really closer than what it actually looks, but you have to take it down, because if you leave all this black paint, you got, as you can see, you've got black, gray, green, and red oxide. That's quite a bit of a buildup. You leave that on there, I can just about guarantee you, it'll spider web cracks all over it from the buildup of paint. So I'm taking my time and taking all the black off, taking it right down even to the red oxide. The red oxide's, it's excellent. I can't see no reason to take it down to the bare metal, because the red oxide's in perfect shape. Red oxide's what I'm going to put back. I put in the new rocker panels, and it's really, they really turned out nice. I mean, I put them in from here all the way up. We migged them all in, and now I'm going back and I'm coating them with Duraglass. Also, something else we had done was the new rear end. Like I had said before, I was going to use the rear end out of a Trans Am. As you go around and go on, you sort of change your mind and you'll find the better stuff. And the best rear end that I could find was 4-lug, just like my Pinto subframe was out of a Mercury Zephyr, a 79 Mercury Zephyr. It was 1/2 inch smaller than the original rear end. The original rear end was 51 inches. This rear end was 50 and a half. A 1/2 inch smaller. I even went with the brand new shocks, the new style shocks, because this car had original knee action shocks on it. I don't think the back even had shocks at all in 1936. But boy, you know what kind of bouncy ride you had on this thing. Right here is some of the new changes we had made in here. To put my dash in, two of the things that I was going to have to do was move my vent back. I really didn't want to do away with it because it's a feature from the old car that I really thought a lot of. So I had to cut it down, move it back, rearrange the arm on this thing to where it was shortened, and it worked out fantastic. Everything works like it's supposed to work. Also, I put all my tabs in for my firewall so I can put my deadener and my jute up in here, because if you don't, believe me, you'll have a tinny sound that you won't believe. And also right here is my pedal and everything for my brakes. All the brakes are hooked up on it. I had to make a longer arm for it because I had to mount this thing higher than I really wanted to, because I didn't want my brake booster to get in the way of my steering column. So I had a longer arm made up, which just turned out beautiful. This thing here, I notched it, cut it down. I've also got to notch these about another 1/2 inch back, and I've had the dash sitting in the car. The dash is fantastic. So everything goes in like it was made for it. Every bolt goes back in every hole, even these holes right here. You've got 7 bolts that bolt this dash in place. But I want to go outside there on the firewall, and I want to show you the brake booster that we've put in. Right here is the brake booster and everything, the power brakes that we've put on it. This is also off of the 79 Zephyr. When we started taking that thing apart, that 79 Zephyr, I looked at the booster and I found out that thing was just perfectly the right size. I want to redo these lines because I don't care for them the way they are. Lowered the proportioning valve down here on the bottom and on the side of the frame. Really went in nice. I'll show you also, before we stop, a little bit of work we've done over here. Some of the panels that we had to put in, because down and through here we'd had some holes and it, didn't look right. So I took it with the MIG I bought and I MIG'd in this new panel, and like I say, I've got to Duraglass this all in. But once I get done, you don't even see this anyway, because your fenders come right down through here and come right down. So you don't even see any of this room here anyway. But once I get done Duraglassing it in, it's going to really look sharp. Well, here we are back again. It's all in the complete prime. Well, I'm sure getting anxious because I know the paint's next. We have changed plans on color. We were going to go with the Daytona blue. The little boy talked me into a Porsche red. He didn't have to talk too hard because I really liked that color. That was the color we done the 31 Model A in. We done. So basically, there's not a lot I can really tell you about it, except it is, as you can see, as he turns the camera and shows you, it's in complete and full prime. The full cabin area is. We've really been knocking ourselves out trying to get this thing done, because this coming weekend we're wanting to get this thing painted. The 2 bullet holes that I had over here, they come out just with no problem at all. Had a little spot down here. It's like silk. You just can't believe how nice everything came out. Also, what we've done, we put in the new floorboard. And let me open up the other door over here and we'll get a good light all the way through. These floorboards are actually stronger or thicker than the original floorboards. But boy, this metal was a bear to cut. We've welded them down. The wiring that we've also put in, I've got all the wiring ready to attach to the dash. You know, you've got your instruments, your light, your steering column, your ignition, and this one here is the neutral safety. So everything is ready right now to plug in to the dash, and even the gas pedal is welded down right here, and it's ready to put in. So I wanted to get all of this stuff in, so I'm not doing a bunch of welding and banging around when we do get ready to paint the car. So I want to know that it's going to be ready when I am. So the next main step is give this thing some color. I've still got to go around it with the silicone rubber and seal everything up. Hey, what are you doing? Are you tired?
What are you tired from?
Sanding.
You've been sanding all day?
Yeah, we did. Make me come out here and work on this car all day.
You like it though, huh?
Yeah. Get tired of it. And I take a break every day.
We just think what it's going to look like once we get it painted and we're out there cruising for the chicks through Elizabeth Park. Well, since he's been working so good, he's done a mighty good job. I'm going to let him paint the thing even. So what do you think about that Porsche red we're putting on here? Huh? You like that? Okay. You think you could spray it?
Dad, how much time do you have to spray? We'll spray on with this little.
Mm-hmm. Okay, get back to work, man. Hey, the working force has to work, you know?
Yeah, I gotta work on this first. Gotta work on this smaller trees.
Well, what hard work pays off though. Then you'll be able to drive in this beauty.
You can stop for a minute and rest up. Here's the rims and tires that I've got for this. I got them off a friend of mine, Jim Scout. He located me a set of them for $60. That is the type of rim that I really wanted, because I didn't want any kind of a name on my center cap. I'm thinking very serious about doing in here the color of the car also. In here, 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 here. And then also I'm going to do the cap. So this way the cap will accent this color and also the car. So really, until I see you next time, that's really about it. So I'll see you in about 2 weeks. Well, here we are again. We're ready now. We're getting ready to put the sealer on it. We want to go through 3 different stages on the taping. One with the sealer, and then go ahead and scuff it, do what we have to do to it after that. Then put the paint itself. And when I take it back home, I'll water sand it, come back. We're going to do the graphics on the side that we're wanting to do. And the way Bob Stacy, we're at his place right now painting it, is we're talking about going through 2 different type blues to match the interior, because we need to offset it because of the red paint that we had changed our mind on. The motor and trance that we had got in. Really went in nice. It's ready right now to start. The only thing that I'm going to redo again is the steering, because I'm not real happy with the flexible steering shaft that I put in out of a Pinto. I'm going to go with the joints that I'm getting for it. Then I'll be happy. All the wiring to the headlights, here the harness is come out, it's taped all up. It's wrapped up and laying on top of the motor. So we're ready. We're ready. Once we start painting the other parts, we can put them on as we paint them. And this thing should be ready for the road.
Now let's get it going.
Okay, here we go.
Here we just now got all the sealer put on. Bob just shot the sealer, and one good heavy coat, I think, and he does too, is all we're gonna need. So you can look, you can get a nice side view of this panel down through here, and look how nice it looks. So that's gonna give you a good indication of just how smooth the paint's gonna go on.
Okay, Mac, what time is it?
It is
12 o'clock, isn't it?
about 12:03 right now.
Okay. Well, time for color.
How do you like that color? Hey, that little red car's over at the house. It's what we've been waiting on since October. It's sure an improvement from that old black and that original color, forest green. That stuff's ugly as mud. So we got one, Bob's got one good heavy coat on it right now. And, boy, it sure looks good. Thing looks like a big pumpkin. It's really looking great. What he says, we're only going to do about 3 heavy coats, and then we'll water sand it, do the graphics. We were just looking on the wall over here at a blue he's got. It's a Chrysler blue. We're going to do the stripe most likely in this blue right here. That blue is really going to contrast this real good. And this blue will really accent the interior and also the paint that's on it now. This was the top I put in that my neighbor Denny Panicella told me. He said, you put that metal top on that car, he said, it's not going to turn out. Eat your heart out, Denny.
Is that it, Mac?
That's about it. That's
Okay.
about it.
So that was pretty cool, seeing Mac build that 36 Ford from when it started out as a black bone stock car when he brought it home, all the way to where he got it painted. Unfortunately, that's about all we have of archived footage, but I can kind of fill in the gaps of where it went from there. The car got a blue interior, blue cloth interior that looked really, really good for the 80s, well, for the 90s, and the car actually lasted a very, very long time before Mac sold it. Mack did sell it to another local car cruise guy, and then it ended up changing hands after that. Where that car is now, I don't know, but if you know where that car is now, I would love to see it and I'd love to know. But here's a few pictures of what it looked like when it was all done. Chrome mag wheels on it, and it looked really, really good with the blue interior and the engine bay with the small block Chevy and everything. Car was a really, really good car. And I think Mack did a really good job on this build. So that's going to do it for this episode. On the next episode of Good Enough Garage Classic, we're going to be looking at that car and how that car started and how it got to where it is today. So I'm going to be inviting Aaron onto that episode, filling in a lot of blanks on the footage and telling you guys all about that one, the 39 Pontiac, aptly named Fat Ass. And we'll get into that on the next episode. But for now, I'm White Wall Steve, and thanks for tuning in to Good Enough Garage Classic. See ya.